Welcome to the Carriker Chronicles, the People Show. Checking the pulse of Husker Nation, brought to you by DPS Concrete Construction. Check them out at dpsconstruction.net, also carrikerchronicles.com. It's where all your Husker sports hopes and dreams will come true. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just someone who wants to say thank you to John Cook for a legendary all-time career, smash the like button. If you're someone who wants to welcome Dani Busboom home, Nebraska's new volleyball coach, if you hadn't heard, after 25 years of coaching, John Cook just retired as Nebraska's volleyball coach. Obviously, this was in place. It seems like a logical person to was the co Big 12 Libero of the Year as well. Won a national title as a player, I believe in 2000. Home to Nebraska's own Dani Busboom Kelly. All right, then smash that like button as well. Also, going to talk about a couple other things. There's some chatter, okay? Some chatter that there may or may not be a spring game this year. I'll tell you what I've heard so far, okay? And an update on ROCCO Spindler, who is crystal ball to come to Nebraska, all right? But if you haven't done so yet, bell, you don't miss any of the content we're putting out here on the, all right? And happen. I love things that you all send my way, and I will try to get to as many of your questions as I can throughout this live. Gut that up. Grant Wistrom next Tuesday. Amon Green after that. Britt Prince as well. We're going multi-sport. Been doing multi-sport here on the Carriker Chronicles for quite a while. All right, ladies and gentlemen, John Cook retires. Now, most of you know his legendary status and some of his accolades. But for those who don't, and this was kind of a surprise. I don't think a lot of people had this on their radar, so to speak. Okay, were you surprised? Let me know in the comments. Were you surprised that John Cook retired? But clearly this is something that had been in the works. And I thought it was interesting that Dani Busboom Kelly was at one of the pro volleyball games in Omaha the other day. I was like, that's interesting. I wonder how often she makes it back to Nebraska. She is the head coach at Louisville, and she is, out recruiting, and there's transfer portal, although not as prevalent in volleyball as in football. Just they don't have as many players on their team. I was like, I wonder how often she makes it back. But I didn't really think much of it beyond that, just that casual thought in my head. Clearly, this had been in the works. All right. Cook knew he was going to retire. They reached out to Dani Busboom. She was brought in not long after he announced his retirement. They announced her as the new head coach here at the University of Nebraska. It just, you didn't know. John Cook coached 25 years, 32 years total. He was initially a football coach, or he thought about getting into coaching football. I can't remember what it was. It was years ago when him and I had that initial interview. But he's a big-time football guy, but obviously a big-time volleyball guy even more so. But, all right, won 4 national titles, 15 conference championships, was a 3-time National Coach of the Year, and is already in the AVCA Hall of Fame. This owns a world record. Well, Nebraska does, for Nebraska Day, all right, in the state of Nebraska, Nebraska Volleyball Day in the state of Nebraska a couple of years ago. What was it, 92,003 people filled Memorial Stadium? I remember when Iowa tried to copy us, and they have the single greatest attraction on the face of planet Earth when it comes to basketball. They had a women's basketball game inside their football stadium, and they did awesome, like 61,000. I mean, it's not even this. We're not even talking apples to oranges here when you talk about 61 to 92, with all due respect to our good buddies from Player of the Year coming in here at the University of Nebraska as well in volleyball. Like, they are set up for success for a long time. All right, Terry Pettit got Nebraska their first national title in volleyball, I believe, 1995. I interviewed him earlier this year on my Adam Carriker show on 93.7 The Ticket. By the way, that show's going to 2 hours, 4 days a week, but we'll get to that at another date and time. But then Cook took it to another level, okay, as in long-term sustained consistency, almost like Devaney and Osborne. All right, it was kind of like Pettit and Cook. And now we got Dani Busboom Kelly, who's stepping into a phenomenal situation, but also Coach of the Year while she's at Louisville. National winning percent, 15 losses over the last 4 years. That's nearly a 900 winning percentage. Louisville, the year before she got there, was 12-18. So she didn't walk into a program that was set up like Nebraska is. They were 12-18. In there. First ever #1 seed as a program a couple of years ago. They were a #1 seed again last year, made their first ever Final Four under her. They had the ACC Player of the Year a year ago, who unfortunately got hurt during the NCAA tournament. They hosted the Final Four there in Louisville. There was so much pressure. If you watched her when they won their Elite Eight match to get to the Final Four. She was literally in tears. There was so, and they did really well without the ACC Player of the Year after she got hurt too. So this is pretty cool. It's pretty exciting. You always wonder, okay, when a legend steps down, who's going to step in? I don't think there's a lot to wonder about. I think the train's going to keep on rolling down the tracks. All right, send me in a couple of questions, couple of thoughts that you might have. I want to get to them. Everybody's saying, good luck to John Cook. Congrats on a great career. All right, let me see here. Okay, so how is the quality? Are we having a hard time with the internet? How's the internet? I see some people talking about the internet here. All right, let me know, is it better? All right, but I'm going to keep going. Unless you know, let me know that it's not working for some reason. I'm going to keep going, okay, and keep recording here. So the volleyball news is pretty awesome. Charles Gray says, thank you, John, for so many great, great years. Your legacy will last forever. Good luck to John Cook. All right. Daniel Cotton says, no, it is not. I don't know what that means. No, it is not bad. No, it is not good. No, it is not. Help me out, John. Okay. So Nebraska is heavily involved in all sports now. Nebraska women's basketball is on the rise. Nebraska men's basketball, yes, has had 6 straight losses, but is on the rise. Okay. Doug Thomas says it is clearing up a bit. Thank you very much for letting me know. The baseball team just won the Big Ten championship. Them and Oregon are the preseason favorites this year. Jordy Ball and the softball team are among the preseason favorites to win the Big Ten championship in softball. Okay. So all Nebraska sports are on the rise. All right. And the men's basketball, yes, they just lost 6 Big Ten games in a row. Hey, just get that first win and hopefully you can get some momentum. They can still make the NCAA tournament. They're going to have to get hot. I mean, they are. They're going to have to turn things around and they're going to have to get hot. Okay. And it's exciting when you think about what's happening across all Nebraska sports right now. Okay, so volleyball is obviously in good hands going forward. I could honestly, when you think of the top coaches in America last year, there's really the 3 that would pop into my head. It would have been John Cook, it would have been Dani Busboom Kelly, and Penn State's head coach. Those have been the top 3. So you lose a legend, you replace it with one of the either the best or the second best head coach in the entire country who happens to be homegrown and one of your own. So that's pretty exciting. Okay. Send me some of your questions, some of your thoughts here, anything you might have. Okay. All right. I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, DPS Concrete Construction. They are your local concrete experts. Concrete, retaining wall. They do phenomenal work. You can check them out at dpsconstruction.net. Jason Armstrong is the owner, and I'm just giving you a heads up. He's got other businesses that he does. Great dude. Great job at building business. Does a great job at building businesses. Okay. And we're going to start promoting some of his other businesses here on the show. So keep your eye out for that in the future. But in the meantime, DPS Construction, concrete, retaining walls, nobody's better. Check them out at dpsconstruction.net. Also, bonzopoolandspa.com. If you didn't know, we put in a pool last summer for the family. Got a hot tub. They're the ones who put it in. I ain't trusting my family's pool, my family's hot tub to Bonzo Pool. Bonzo Pool and Spa, bonzopool.com. Also, they take care of the pool. They take care of the hot tub. They take care of everything. They do a phenomenal job. I wouldn't have anybody else do it. Again, check them out at bonzopool.com. If you go into the store, ask for Jeff. He's the owner, Jeff Bonzo. Tell him Adam sent you. Otherwise, check out bonzopool.com. All right, got a couple of questions here. Adam, do you think the volleyball team here will hit the transfer portal? I don't think so. I mean, people are always going to come and go. We just got a major transfer in the other day from Baylor, 6'4", a 2-time all-conference in the Big 12. And by the way, I'm 6'6". She's 6'4". And so people are going to come, people are going to go. That's just how the world is now in the world of collegiate athletics. But I'm not too concerned about girls going any more than they otherwise would have. All right. Let's see here. All right. If you got any other questions, thoughts, or comments and concerns, let me know. I want to talk a bit about the spring game. Now, I've been sent a couple of texts and people asking and people inquiring, okay, about this spring game here. So, scheduled yet. And there are other schools as though Okay. Let me see. There are some other universities dropping their spring games, like UCF, I guess, is dropping their spring game. Okay, and I know Scott's there right now. Wish him the best, but I saw a picture of people at the UCF spring game. It was actually the year after 2017 when they went undefeated. With all due respect, there was literally like 50 people there. So it's not a big money maker for them in this day and age when it comes to college football. I mean, with the revenue sharing that's coming up, it's going to be like the NFL in the aspect of the spring game is going to be viewed like a preseason game. And you don't see a whole lot of big time names, big time players, guys making big time money play a whole lot in preseason games. They usually don't play at all in the fourth preseason game. They usually only play like 15 plays in the first preseason game, maybe a quarter in the second preseason game, maybe a half in the third preseason game. So if you add all 4 preseason games together, it doesn't even add up to a full preseason game. So I could see a world potentially where one day people look at the spring game and they're like, we're paying these guys all this money and we could potentially get them hurt months before the season even happens. So I could see a world, and there already is UCF. There's a couple other universities who aren't doing their spring game. So I could see a world where potentially spring games don't happen. It's crazy because I've always wanted spring games to actually be against other teams, and I'm in the minority. I'd love to bring in a smaller school and go against them. Just have a simple rule. Nobody can blitz or something like that because you've only had, I think, 12 padded practices at that point, maybe 11. The spring game is the 12th. You get 3 non-padded out of your 15 practices in the spring. And so maybe you just don't blitz. That's what I've always wanted. I've always been shouted down because people were afraid of people getting hurt. It definitely ain't going to happen now. Now there's rumors of maybe the spring game not happening. Here's what we know at this point in time. It's very, very real that they want to protect players because players are getting paid more than they've ever been paid. It's also very, very real that some other schools like UCF, at least based on what I've been told, are not going to have a spring game. That's a possibility at Nebraska. Nothing is definitive at this point. The only thing that's definitive at this point is no spring game has been scheduled. That's all we know. Okay. I saw this the other day online on the show, but I really started getting more. So the spring game's definitely going to be something that's on the docket. I'm sure he'll be asked. We'll probably get a definitive answer there. Man, they make over $1 million every year on the spring game. That's why I brought up the lack of fans for UCF. Like, it's not a moneymaker for them. They might make a couple thousand. I don't know. With all due respect, like Nebraska makes over $1 million every year in the spring game. So while they want to protect their players, it's almost hard for me to fathom that they wouldn't do it at all. Yet it's not been scheduled yet. So you start to connect certain dots, and it's like, man, somebody texted me, I think it was Andy Jurassic, who does a lot of great work for Chronicles.com. So what if they do like a Pro Bowl skills competition, kind of like the Pro Bowl does? Whatever. I mean, you can put guys on the field and you can control reps with starters. Okay, if Dylan Raiola is your starter, maybe he plays the first quarter and then you get all the backups a bunch of rest or a bunch of reps, I'm sorry. And Dylan gets out there, the fans get happy. He's probably not going to get hurt, in the first quarter, hopefully. And maybe you even tell the D coordinator, because you're scrimmaging yourself, don't blitz the first quarter till we get Dylan out. And then we get these other guys some experience, some reps. The people get to come in, they get to enjoy the experience. The spring game is something I don't want to see go away. I don't want to see it go away. I could see that happening. The only issue is linemen. You're always going to be short linemen. The past, I think, 2 spring games, some linemen have worn gray jerseys so they could go back and forth on both teams. And that's where we're already short to begin with. So that would be my only question. I think as far as skill guys, what I just proposed is very easy to do. The question is, what about the linemen? And maybe you play the younger linemen a lot more. When I was young, I played a ton of the spring game. As I got older, I usually played about a half. Okay, and then the second half was always a running clock anyway. So I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on the spring game. If the spring game didn't happen, is this something that you'd be pretty mad about? Or would you be like, well, I kind of understand it's like the NFL preseason? Let me know in the comments. I'm genuinely curious what you all think about this potential of a spring game potentially not happening. So I see that the upload is having intermittent issues. I'm just going to be blunt with you. The internet at our house has been driving me bonkers lately. We're watching the AFC NFC championship game, and we're working on it. I apologize. Bear with us. Have some patience. It's driving me bonkers when I'm just trying to watch sports on TV and we're streaming stuff. And I do apologize. We're going to get that fixed here in the near future as far as the internet being more consistent. Hopefully it sticks with us through the rest of this video. All right. Doug Thomas makes a great point. When you're going from what Nebraska had, we currently have 132 guys on the roster. We got to get down to 105. There's over 100 guys on scholarship. We're probably going to bring in a couple more transfer portal guys via the portal. Hopefully, ROCCO Spindler. Okay, talk about him in a minute. But we've got to get down. Now, we're not there yet, and we don't technically have to be there till after spring. So maybe if you walk into the spring game with 132 players or 120 if a few quit over winter conditioning, you could do the spring game, but you got to be at 105, and that does affect the amount of linemen you can have. And I don't know when exactly Rule wants to get to the 105. Maybe he wants to get there before spring ball so those guys that are in the 105 can get reps. Maybe he's fine with getting there afterwards. Maybe this is something he'll address on Saturday. Okay. All right. Let's see what we got here. Do you guys remember years ago when we had an AD who didn't get along with John Cook that well? I'm keeping the AD's name out of it. And he specifically said Bob Diaco is the best coach we have at that point in time. And everyone kind of took it as he was taking a little bit of a shot at John Cook. I know that's out of nowhere. I didn't plan on saying that. It hadn't been in my brain for years. It just popped into my head because sometimes things aren't asked of 7. They aren't asked of 8. They're asked of 9. And I think back on that, and the strain is real. Ladies and gentlemen, the strain is real. That's not a shot at Bob Diaco. I actually liked it. It's a shot at what the AD said. All right. Oh, Jared Nelson says, I thought Jordan Larson would take over for John. Jordan is still trying to pursue her career or continue to play volleyball. Obviously, just at the Olympics. She was Lexi Rodriguez's coach, and now she's their teammates on the pro volleyball team up in Omaha. It's kind of crazy how that works. But she's still playing volleyball, and it's really hard to juggle everything. Okay, I could see her circling back one day and coming back and being an assistant coach. How legendary would that be? Dani Busboom as a head coach and Jordan Larson 3, 4, 5 years as an assistant coach right next to her. Are you freaking kidding me? Oh, man. All right. Let's see. Doug Thomas knows the idea that I'm talking about. All right. One last topic here, ROCCO Spindler. Here's what I know about ROCCO. People expect him to come to Nebraska. You've probably seen it. He's crystal balled by national guys to come to Nebraska. He's crystal balled by Nebraska insiders to come to Nebraska. He even canceled a visit that he had to another school today. So obviously Nebraska's, if not the favorite, at least a finalist, but they appear to be a favorite. Like the expectation is that ROCCO is going to come here. Okay, if you don't know who ROCCO is, he started center for Notre Dame, started 23 games the past couple of years for Notre Dame, over 1,300 snaps. He had about 750 snaps this past year and only allowed 2 quarterback sacks in those over 1,300 snaps the past 2 years, only 10 quarterback pressures, period, and about 750 snaps he had this past year. The dude's a good offensive lineman. You project possibly what the offensive line could be, and I'm still about earning spots. I'm still about earning it. But let's say everyone earns their spots the way we think they might. You think about an Elijah Pritchett at left tackle who's still got to show consistency. Started at left tackle for Bama. Maybe it's Gunnar Gatula and Pritchett's at right. Maybe Gunnar Gatula goes to right tackle. You got Pritchett. Maybe Turner Corcoran can factor in as some depth there. Maybe he beats somebody out. I don't know. He's coming back from another injury. You think about Teddy Prohaska coming back from knee injuries. Man, I'm rooting for that guy. It's just tough. But you look inside. Maybe ROCCO starts at center. Then you got Henry Latufsky, who is out for the spring, but he could start at guard. You got Justin Evans-Jenkins, who has started at center in the past for us. So if ROCCO were to come and he were to get hurt, you got a backup center. Justin could start at guard, or Justin starts at center. ROCCO goes to guard. Okay, who knows? But then you think about Grant Bricks, one of the most highly recruited linemen in the entire country a year ago. Preston Tamua coming out of Hawaii, both 4-star big guys, 315, 320 pounds. The day they set foot on campus here at Nebraska at guards, those are guys who can compete for starting positions and push anybody who does or doesn't come here, anybody who is or is not here. I don't care who starts as long as they earn it. But if nothing else, maybe we'd finally have some fin depth on the O-line. Like for the love of all that's holy, we'd have some actual depth, at least on the inside. Tackle would still be a question mark. And you look at Turner Corcoran. You know, with all these injuries and being banged up, you know, maybe going inside and playing in less space, a condensed space as a guard, okay, potentially could help him and help the team. The question is, what do we do at tackle as far as depth if Turner goes inside? So we'll see. If ROCCO comes here, I feel really good about our interior 3 offensive linemen and having a decent amount of depth. The question is, what do we do at tackle? We'll see if he comes. We'll see what happens. He's expected to come. Things constantly change. You never know. But that is the expectation. All right. Let me see here. Any other thoughts, questions, comments, concerns? All right. As always, check out CarrikerChronicles.com. You can also follow me on the social medias. I'm on X. I'm on Facebook. Started a TikTok, having fun with that. Resurrected my dead Instagram account like Lazarus after I hadn't done anything for 7 years. Brought it back last summer, so you can follow me on the social medias as well. Here are my questions for you fine folks at home. Let me know your answer in the comments below. Number one, okay, man, when it comes to John Cook, is he the GOAT when it comes to college volleyball coaches? And I hesitate because we're all going to be biased when we answer that. But is he the GOAT when it comes to collegiate volleyball coaches? Okay. Number two, will there be a spring game at Nebraska? We'll get a more definitive answer probably Saturday from Matt Rule at that press conference. Yes or no. Number three, all right, will ROCCO Spindler be wearing the Big Red next year? Let me know. Yes or no. Until next time, go Big Red. Tune in for our next show and throw the bones.